Good afternoon, baseball brethren. Your buddy Chop It On coming at you with another video. We're going to try and make it quick today because we've got a lot of stuff to cover. What I want you to do, though, is I want you to go to our sponsor for Chop Talk, dfsarmy.com/ref/3. The link will be in the comment section below, or you can find me out on Twitter under the name Chop It On, where you can find that link in my thread all over the place. I'm leading you to the website because I want you to see something today. I want you to see that we just popped another $100,000 winner. This is life-changing money these guys are winning. Our VIPs gain access to our coaching, optimizers, and tools, and without a doubt, they earn life-changing money, or at least they better their chances at it. If you're like me, you don't play for big contests, that might not mean much to you. But if you're the guy that wants to win it all, I'm telling you, it's your best chance is right here inside dfsarmy.com. So let's dive in. It's a lead story on the website. You can find it really, really easily. I encourage you to read through the weekend that we had. We popped 10 NASCAR winners, another couple of MMA winners for $2,000 or so that chopped up that top prize. I mean, MMA and NASCAR are niche sports. We dominate those too. Why? We have over 20 coaches, 20 contributors. We have 1,500 members that are always talking DFS 24/7 in all those different channels. And to be quite honest with you, we're putting over 60,000 messages a week through our private Slack VIP forums. You guys, you're missing out if you don't jump in, you don't follow this link, and you don't use coupon code CHOP, CHOP, where friends don't let friends pay retail. I'm going to jump into a little bit of baseball. And we're going to talk a little bit about chin music today. This is where we always start. And when we scroll down here, you're going to see that the slate, at a quick glance, we don't have any weather concerns. The early games were snowed out. They weren't going to be on the main slate anyway. Cleveland, that piece of dog town that always starts their 6 o'clock times and never ends up on the main slate, pissed me off because I really would love to use pitchers like Kluber, Carrasco, and those guys roster those bats, but when they're at home, I don't get that opportunity because they dodge that main slate like a bunch of knee-haws. Whatever that word was that came out of my mouth. We look at who's favored. We look at some of the bigger spreads on the night, you know, as far as a little bit of safety for the pitchers. We look at the higher run totals. I'll tell you, it's a little colder out in Denver this time of year. You might temper expectations for that game. You might focus instead on Texas and LA and Philly and Cincinnati, probably the Philly side more than anything. Look for a little late line movement if you're a sports bettor type guy, because it can sometimes indicate a little bit better advantage for some of these things. When we scroll down through the pitchers, let's talk pitchers here really quick. Max Scherzer, Syndergaard, Godley, Gray, and Bundy are the pitchers that I singled out tonight. Are others playable? Sure. These are the ones that I'm focusing on, and why? When I blend together Vegas odds, my K-score metric, and the price, what we pay, and who they're facing and what ballpark they're in, I'm looking for the best bang for my buck. I don't think I'm going to find it with Max Scherzer tonight. Why? Because Scherzer is facing Atlanta. Atlanta typically gets to him, or they can. It's still Scherzer. He can still strike out 20, but his K-score is lower because Atlanta strikes out something like 13-14% of the time this year. They're not a strikeout team by any means. That brings his ceiling way down in Scherzer. The fact that Atlanta also tends to touch him up a little bit brings his floor down a little bit. Paying $11,100 for that is asking a lot, especially when you've got Noah Syndergaard sitting just underneath him, $300 cheaper. Really, really strong Vegas odds still at the -190, a much higher K-score, telling me he's going to test his upside before Scherzer does tonight. Could it backfire on me? Of course it could. It's baseball. But odds are Syndergaard's going to end up striking out more Marlins. And the reason why is the Marlins tend to strike out more, number one. It's also a pitcher's park, which is really going to help Syndergaard keep that ball in the yard. We know he didn't have a great start his last time out, but the bottom line is the bottom line. Miami's a former shell of themselves, and they're striking out more, and they're hitting the ball less. That's a good sign for a high strikeout pitcher like Syndergaard. If he brings his A game tonight, you might be in for a really, really good night. That's your cash-safe pitcher. Godley, he's okay. What I don't like about him, though, tonight is he's facing San Francisco. San Francisco, like Atlanta, is a low strikeout team. They're in a great pitcher's park. That'll help him. But they're a low strikeout team, and Godley has to miss bats. And he's not going to miss bats against a team that doesn't typically tend to swing and miss. It's just not going to happen. So I don't really like that as much as, you know, and another one that I'm going to set you up with, here's John Gray. Everybody talking John Gray out on social media, GPP pitcher. Okay, first of all, if they say he's a GPP pitcher, he isn't, because he's not low owned. He is a known commodity. People are thinking about him today. People are going to take him. He's not going to be low owned. Second of all, you don't need low owned to win GPPs when it comes to pitchers. You just don't. I proved it to my VIPs earlier this weekend by showing them some of the GPPs or the leagues that I was winning where I didn't have that GPP, that low-owned pitcher. In fact, you're really just taking risk on the one position that you can depend on the most for fantasy points. Differentiate with your bats. Stack a different team. If you'd have been on Pittsburgh a few days ago when they put 14 on whoever, you'd have been fine. You could have run Kershaw if you could have afforded those bats, and you'd have been great. The bottom line is when you have a known source of points, don't get cute with it. Take the bet. For GPPs, you have to nut the pitcher to have a shot, and then you got to hit your bats too. Why go take some random 2% guy just because you heard somewhere that lower owned is the ticket to GPPs? That's bullshit, man. I will tell you completely differently inside DFS Army all day long. I'm not saying ownership is not important. I'm saying it's not the end all be all, and a low owned pitcher is not necessarily going to win you your slate. The highest scoring pitcher is going to set you up to win the slate most of the time. So you need to stick with a little bit more of a known commodity when it comes to that. John Gray is fine, and he's facing San Diego, which makes people go, oh, high strikeout team, John Gray, look at the K-score, 507, high strikeout pitcher, good Vegas support, colder weather. Maybe I'm going to tell you this, and this is what the people won't tell you. John Gray adjusts his game when it comes to where he pitches. If he pitches on the road, he's more of a strikeout gunner. If he pitches at home, he knows the ball doesn't curve as much. He knows that the ball carries. He tries to keep the ball in the yard. He's on the record as saying so. He's pitching for the kneecaps. He's not going to go up in the zone if he can control it. He's pitching for the kneecaps, going to keep that ball on the ground. Why? Because it's going to keep the ball in the yard. You want to look at his home and road splits? At home, he throws 56% ground balls. On the road, 43%. Tells you all you need to know. That at home, he focuses on ground balls. What that tells me is he isn't focused on strikeouts. And for DFS purposes, that sucks. That's going to kill me. If I'm looking for a strikeout pitcher, I'm going to get a letdown by a guy who's going to be hovering around his floor tonight instead of pushing his ceiling. Why the hell am I going off chalk, rostering him in a GPP when he's going to end up screwing me? And I'm telling you this because you're going to do it anyway. Half of you are going to go do it anyway, and you're going to wind up disappointed tomorrow. I'm going to tell you right now, you want to look at Dylan Bundy. Why? Dylan Bundy's a little under the radar. If you want to save some money off of Syndergaard, come down here. The Vegas odds are not as great, so people aren't going to fly to him. The K-score's just fine, but it's not as high as John Gray, so they're not going to see it. Toronto is a shell of their former selves. Their old dudes are gone. Their home run hitters are gone. They've got a couple, but they don't have the lineup as deep as it used to be. And the bottom line there is they're swinging and missing, and they're not scoring the runs. This Dylan Bundy's a guy who's going to test his upside. Another thing for you, Dylan Bundy, since the All-Star break last year, is going towards more. He's using his breaking pitches more. His sliders, slurves, curves, whatever, he's using them more. He's up about 5% usage on those breaking pitches, and his K percentage is up as a result of it. So most people are seeing those numbers a little bit lower than they really are. 8,600 is underpriced for Dylan Bundy. And I'm not saying he's going to go throw 50, 60 points tonight, but I'm saying he's going to test his ceiling because of those factors when John Gray is going to test his floor. So when people think they're being all slicky tricky and going out to Coors, I'm going to roster the Coors pitcher, first of all, they're going to be shocked. His ownership's going to be a little bit higher. It won't be super high, but it's going to be a little bit higher than it should be. And number two, he's testing his floor. He's not going to be your pitcher. Go with Dylan Bundy instead in GPPs. Scrolling down here, oh, there's that $100,000 win again. I'm telling you, you got to go read the article. There's your link right there. Soft pitchers to attack. We focus on Sierras. High Sierras tell me that pitchers are tending to get blown up. These are the bats: Philly, Arizona, Cincinnati, New York, Washington, Houston. These are the bats you should be focused on. And when I write down some of these bats with high implied run totals tonight and throw stars next to the BVP numbers, you can see Washington. It doesn't matter what side of the plate we use for bats. Both of them hit the pitcher well. Harper's got BVP. Trey Turner has BVP. If Trey Turner plays, I don't know if he's on the DL or not. I didn't bother to look that far. I'll look when I go building my lineups. You've got to do a little bit of your own due diligence too. I'm pointing you in the right direction. You've got to do the research. Adam Eaton, Rendon, and Adams are all hitting the ball pretty well if Adams gets the start. Left-handed side of Houston plate, Stassi, Correa. I took Altuve out. Altuve's hitting high on some numbers, but Altuve doesn't seem to handle the pitcher very well, and its numbers are a little low for his price tag anyway. I'm not playing him tonight. On the right side of the plate in Philly, Hoskins and out there are the only ones I'm really all that interested in, unless I need to go complete a stack, which I might. It depends on where I go. On the left side in LA, you've got Trout, Cozart, and these are right-handed bats. I mean, don't get me wrong, but when they've got BVP and whatnot, it's fine. The lefties, like I don't know if Calhoun's a lefty or Valbuena. I think Valbuena is for sure. These are guys that are in good positions to hit hard because the opposing pitcher has a high batting average allowed or a high WOBA allowed to that handedness of bat. And those are the guys that I'm wanting to really lean on tonight when I'm putting my teams together. I'm looking at high implied run totals. I'm looking at the side of the plate that I want to be looking on, or I'm looking for just generally good numbers that hit that side of the pitching handedness well. Arizona, Nick Ahmed, of all people, just raged. This must be season numbers that I looked at and not 2-year numbers. It's a little early in the season to go thinking that Nick Ahmed all of a sudden has it all figured out and that he's just this freaking star-crazed bopper that's just smashing, right-handed or left-handed pitching or whatever he's facing tonight. Goldschmidt and Pollock are legit. Ahmed I'd watch. It's probably a small sample size, but it hits the list anyway. When we come down here, there's my Donko. Yeah, I gave it to you. It's Valbuena. I just like the bat flip. To be honest with you, I think that little bitty shorty's got himself a shot to hit a longie. And when we start focusing on things like 200 on 200, we got a whole bunch of other names to pick from. When this list gets long, I expect to see Dong. When it comes down to tonight, that's just how it's going to wind up going. And these guys are really set up well. When I dive into our research station, I start looking for these guys, I can do a couple of things. If you have not seen the tutorial, you go to dfsarmy.com/ref/3, go to MLB, go down to research station, and pop that tutorial out right there. Watch it. It will show you how to use this tool. And it'll sell you on DFS Army and why we have an advantage over all of our other competition right now. Nobody has what we have. Now, when we dig in a little bit to the batting matchups, you can look at all of the numbers. You can sort by, pitcher ISO if you want to see who's getting thumped real hard. And I'll show you by descending order really quick why this number is going to be a little bit interesting. You're going to see a bunch of guys facing Miles Michaelis tonight. And Michaelis is okay, but remember, he was in Asia last year. This is a very small sample size. So the number's not necessarily trustworthy yet. Okay, we've only got one start under our belt. He struck out 5 of 25 batters faced in his first outing. It was against Milwaukee, and Thames was okay. Shaw was okay. I think Yelich got him on one. Matt Cain got him, I think. That's, it could happen, and it might repeat itself. But I'm going to tell you that a 461 ISO against is just stupid high, and it's not realistic. You're mostly going to see these down in the 2s, mid to low 2s on a guy that's getting crushed. Anything over 3 or 4 is just going to it's just the guy got lit up. So you can sort by that. You can sort by our total matchup. And when you're looking at that, it's going to pull some of these hitters to the top that you're going to maybe want to be taking looks at tonight. You can also go by our custom projection, the DFSA grade, and you can really pull some guys to the top that are rating the highest on the night. You're going to see your 90s and your 80s, and this is where you're going to see all of the green. It all comes to the top when you sort by DFSA grade. It's really the only tool you need to look at. When I sort by DFSA grade and I go down here, I'm looking, okay, Colorado, good spot, Colorado, good spot, Colorado, good spot. I've got 3 Colorado guys in the top order. If I wanted to run into our domination station, which it's only on the 2-game slate right now, but if it was on the 3-game slate, I wanted to run in there, I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to find, the Colorado guys. They're not on this slate, but let's say we'll call Colorado Chicago, and I'll go top guy lock, second guy lock, third guy lock. And now all I'm going to do is go up here, run out about 10 lineups, set my unique players to 2 or 3 guys, click optimize, and let it just tear it up. And whatever it throws at me I'm going to have my locked in guys. There's Rizzo. Oh, it even gave me Bryant. Happ and Russell were the 3 guys I locked based on research station. If this was Colorado, lock, 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 it would have given me those 3 guys. I go and I slap them in there, and then it's going to mix and match guys around, and there's bias. I didn't lock him, but it's going to start throwing me these guys, right? And I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to look for the best lineup I want. And there's my To me, that would be my Chicago in this case, but my Colorado stack on the night. And then I would come back up here. I would unlock, unlock, unlock. And who would be my next situation? Milwaukee, 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 Milwaukee. There's a couple of Milwaukees. There's a Cincinnati. There's Cincinnati. There's an LA, LA, LA. Let's say I liked LA. Those three guys. I would take those three guys. I'd run over to Domination Station. We'll call LA. We'll call them Chicago White Sox this time. And I would take their three guys, the names that I saw, lock, lock, lock. And now I'm going to come up here, same 10 lineup, same 3 uniques. Boom. Spin it. The optimizer is going to toss it out at me. It's going to throw me, a different pitcher in this case. And it's still got some Rizzo, still got some of those quote-unquote Colorado guys that it's throwing in there, the expensive guys. But there's my locked Anaheim guy, my locked Anaheim guy, and my locked Anaheim guy. Okay, or in this case, Chicago White Sox. So all I'm trying to do is show you how that tool works. You want a quick way to win some money and win some leagues? That's how you do it. But you need access to our projections, coaching, tools, and optimizer. Otherwise, you're just out there throwing lineups around. We have the algorithms and we have the math on our side that is searching for all of the value ratings and searching these research stations for all of these players for the best possible matchups. It's using, in a lot of cases, these value multipliers. If I pull those to the top, you're going to see some of these guys in there tonight when you run the optimizer, because all of a sudden we've got some 4X and 3X type guys. Now, it's not exactly like you're used to. I'm using the terminology so you understand what I'm saying. But it's going to start pulling some of these guys up there, and it's going to allow you to go get the expensive guys that are in good spots. And the way that and when it does that, you've got yourself some very competitive lineups for being a VIP in DFSArmy.com. It's just not that hard, guys. Put the engines, put the technology to work for you, and then do what you can't, what nobody else in the industry can do, and ask the coaches questions, because sometimes there are discrepancies in these numbers, like the Michaelis small sample size. That's going to fool a lot of people, like John Gray out in Colorado. That's going to fool some people. Dylan Bundy, a little sneaky. People are going to run Scherzer that don't know that he struggles with Atlanta, and they're not going to run Syndergaard instead. These are the coaching tips that you're going to get, and many, many, many more inside DFS Army when you take the time to become a member, plug into Slack, and let the coaching guide you. Let the tools show you what we see. Let the optimizer make the lineups for you. I mean, you want to run 100 lineups, just go up here and change this number to 100. It'll run them for you. You want to run some max exposure on anybody? You don't want anybody in more than, say, 65% of your lineups tonight? Change it up. Nobody will be in it. You want to run, the guys that, you didn't lock in, some other guys. Let's say you like Ivan Nova. You want to add a little bit of juice to his projection. Notice how that just changed? That 27, if I take it away, it's going to drop back down. That 27, it's going to drop back down. What did it jump to? I was looking at the wrong column. 30. So it gives him a little bit of juice. It pulls him forward a little bit if you like him. He's going to come up in a few more of your lineups, but nobody's still going to be in 65% of them. You want the hitter stacking tool? Come down here. You want to use 3 players from the first team that you want, and you want to run a 3x3? Go for it. You want to run them in 50% of your stacks, and you want to run Pittsburgh in the other 40% of your stacks? Spin it. If you do, on a short slate with the 2 games, it'll show you there wasn't enough players. But on a deeper slate, it's going to throw those at you. It's going to be heavy on Tampa and Pittsburgh. It's going to throw you 100 lineups, 3 unique players in every single lineup, and a 3x3 stack of these 2 teams. That's how that works. And you do that by pulling all the numbers off of this page, noticing the picture, the players that you like and that you dislike, adjusting their numbers a little bit, and then letting the algorithm find it for you. I used to play a lot of poker, and we had things called heads-up displays that when we sat down at a poker table with you, I had all of your numbers. I knew how often you called, how often you raised, how often you bluffed, how often you folded. If you folded a lot, I knew I could bluff you. I saw holes in your game, and I exploited them, and it was technology that did that, and I hated that tool for the longest time because I felt like it was cheating, but it wasn't made illegal by the industry, but I felt like it was cheating. I was like, this is a crock. You should be paying attention inside your head. You should be learning poker that way. But you know what? It gets to a certain point where if you can't beat him, you just got to join him. And every single player that you go up against out there in DFS land has these optimizers if they belong to premium sites. And I know there's free sites out there, but those free sites algorithms and projections freaking suck. I'm just telling you that right now. Terrible. They don't know what they're doing. They're not pulling from the right numbers. They aren't weighting 2-year, 1-year, 30-day, and 14-day averages. They aren't putting weights and measures on this for recency. They aren't following some of the matchups. They suck. I've used them. They suck. Once we came on board last year with MLB projections, I haven't gone anywhere else other than a little bit of comparing from this lineup to that lineup. And I run that stuff all the time. And I'm telling you, they still suck. Our projections blow them away. I've got large numbers of back-tested ideas and results that show you that that is the case. But our VIPs get that information. You don't. I can tell you exactly where to look for those types of tools. But the industry's using them. The industry's using these optimizers against you. If you don't have access to one, if you can't beat them, join them. Otherwise, you're just going to be dumping money into these sites and really and truly giving it to our VIPs. So for whatever it's worth, thanks for tuning into Chop Talk today. Hope you learned something. Hope you picked up on something. Hope you got a little review of the slate and you got a little bit of direction. If you don't have our numbers, I can't help you. But if you have our numbers, come inside Slack. Let's talk about them today, and we'll point you in the right direction even a little bit deeper. We'll set you up for the best possible success. DFSArmy.com/ref/3. Coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Triggers at 10% off. Friends don't let friends pay retail. Come back and see me. We'll do Chop Talk again here later in the week.